seems to be this controversy around the N word, be it nigger, nigga. What's it used as a greeting, used as a form of connection. That is some cool thing to do, and what I like to just say is that at no point is it ever appropriate, even for people of color, specifically black people, to refer to each other or to other people as the N-word. Okay, so what I've learned about human communication is this simple fact, is that, well, let me back up. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be an X-Man. I wanted to have a superpower. And what I realized was that I actually do have that superpower. And, one of the characters has these claws that comes out and, in this healing factor, and another can, make storms and all sorts of stuff like that. But I wanted the cool power of the dude in the wheelchair, because I thought that was cool too, right? So we have all this diversity in this team, and we got to do this handicap, and that's like sweet, right? So I wanted this power, and his power is he has these mental abilities, so he can. He can move stuff with his mind. He can talk to people with his mind. So he has this superpower. And so I've always wanted that superpower until I realized that I actually have it. And ironically, all of us have it. We all have the same superpower. Of being able to use our minds to make things happen. And so what I've realized is that humans don't communicate with words. Words are packages by which, well, let's just do this experiment, right? So I want you to close your eyes just for a second, and I want you to see what comes up when I say this word. So close your eyes right now. Okay? Your eyes are closed, and I'm going to say the word apple. Now, as I say the word apple, you can open your eyes now. When I said the word apple, what came up for you? What did you see? What did you experience? And oftentimes when I do this in class, my students tell me that they see a red apple. Some see a yellow apple. And every now and then there's the person who sees a white apple, a laptop computer, right? So there's one in every group. But one of the things that I also asked, I said, what else did you see? So did your apple have a stem on it? Did your apple have a leaf on it? Did your apple have a bite out of it? Was there a worm in your apple? Did you see a yellow apple? And so a number of those follow-up questions are being able to my students respond to those follow-up questions, because when I said apple, those were the things that came up for them. Well, how is it that I said apple, but these other things came up that I did not say? Well, one of the things we start to realize is that words are used to pass our thoughts from one person to the next person. And so when we use the words that we use are to transmit a particular thought to another person. So words take on a whole different kind of connotation or even denotation. They take on a different meaning once we understand that those are the tools that we use to pass one thought to another person. And so if I used different words to describe that apple, people would get different images when I said the word apple. So for example, if I said rotten apple, then they would get a different picture than the ones that they typically gave me. So they would see or they would talk about, a rotten apple. They would see darkness. They would talk about decay. So that's a totally different thing than when we talked about just apple, right? And so when we talk about this N word, what we're actually doing is we're transferring our thoughts to someone else. So words actually do have power, and they have the power of our thought. And so one of the things that I know about words is that I give words so that people can understand what I'm talking about. I use and I try to be as articulate as I can so I can be as clear about the thoughts that I'm trying to transmit from one person to the next. And so when we talk about this N word, what we're talking about is transferring one thought to someone else. Now, I will submit that if, and I would tell my students this, both my college students as well as my high school students and the people that that I mentor, through our processes, I'll say this, that if you can say the word, the N word, either with an ER or an A, if you can say that and you get, as you say the word, you see butterflies and bunnies. If it makes you happy to say that word, by all means, know that that's something you should probably or could say. At the same time, I would say that if those words uttered bring shame, condemnation, and I'm talking about people who are thinking about the word. So you have to actually think about the word. Not just say it offhand or use it in a casual way. But if you sit and you think about that word and you don't get good feelings and you don't feel empowered by using that word, that certainly is not a word that should be used in common vernacular. And one of the things that people talk about, this double standard, and I want to say there is no double standard in terms of using the N word. I would say that part of the dominant culture's responsibility in terms of maintaining its dominance is to make subordinate behavior seem like a normal thing to do, so that the dominant culture doesn't have to work so hard to control people, that people start to internalize the oppression that the dominant culture is providing. And so this thing that's a double, people see it as a double standard or whatnot or blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you, saying the N-word is not a badge of courage. I get no extra points for people allowing me to think that I can say that or use that. Just as I don't believe that women get any extra points for using the B word when they refer to each other, or when they, when men refer to women that way. So you don't get extra points for that kind of stuff. And so when we talk about the N word, what we have to really understand is that words are powerful. And if we want to change the dynamics in our society, if we want to change how we think about ourselves and how we think about other people, that we have to take into account the power of the words that we use. And I would say that, given my experience with that word, I have never experienced a time when that word was used to uplift someone, when that word was used to empower someone, when that word was used to really show love, and codify my humanity. Every time that word is used, for me it is a reminder of how I am less human, and how the human condition begs that we try to find someone who is less than. And what I would suggest is that our humanity comes first, that we're always human. When we give into the temptation, either in popular culture or even in our subcultures, when we give into the temptations to buy in to what the dominant culture says is acceptable or tries to make acceptable, we run the risk of laying down our humanity. We are always human. We're born human. There's no way that we can lose our humanity, but we certainly can lay it down. And I believe that the use of the N-word in whatever context and whatever fashion that people choose to use it in, I think that actually diminishes our humanity. And the only way that we can be successful as a race of people is that we make sure that every one of us, from the oldest to the smallest, to the most sophisticated, to those who have developmental disabilities, that we create space for them to recognize and live as human beings. So, I've stopped using the N-word. I stopped listening to people who use the N-word. and I hope that I've made a case for you to also do the same. This is Andre Koen, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks.